Tonight we are dining in the past. It is the 14th of April 1912 and we're cruising across the Atlantic. And tonight, following our cocktail, we're going to have Filet Mignon Lili, which was one of the more opulent choices on that night on board Titanic. So essentially three parts to this, and well, fourth part when we assemble it all. Right? This is a cocktail, by the way, that was adapted from essentially like a sorbet type thing that they had on that evening. Rather nice. Check out the other video. So first things first, we're going to make the sauce. Okay, and actually that's going to take the longest bit because it needs to cook down. So we're going to start with about a tablespoon of butter. Okay, which, to be honest, is just about all I've got left in there. Right, so that's going in there, and we're going to melt that down. Get a light bugger. Okay, we're going to let that melt down, and we're going to then add to that, once it's melted, we're going to add some onion, which I've already chopped. Excuse me, approximately half an onion. Okay, you don't need an awful lot. Okay, that will be going in there to be cooked off once that butter is melted. And we're also going to need some stock, some nice beef stock, because we're having beef obviously. Okay, not vegetarian meal tonight. So we're going to have about 360 mils of that. So let me just get some hot water. There we go. And get me a little beef stock pot. Get in there, you don't scratch me. It is black tie event, but I'll have to get crap all over me. Hence my jacket's off and I've got the apron on. Okay. I do expect you to eat this black tie. Okay. It is first class menu. Did you know? Although they know exactly what the first class and the second class set, I have no idea what the third class set that even. Because they didn't get menus, see. What we're cooking tonight was one of about six or seven entrees that you could pick from. Right, so butter's melted just about, and I'm going to chuck those onions in there. Okay, and we're going to cook them probably for about 5 minutes or so, just until they're nice and soft. Okay, now you're going to also want for this sauce some tomato puree. Okay. Tomato puree, a bay leaf, which I haven't got out yet, but I'm getting that. Some rosemary. We're going to need some cognac. Okay, cognac. Now, really, it should have Madeira, but Tesco's don't sell Madeira. Co-op don't sell Madeira. Amazon sell Madeira. Expensive, and they couldn't get it sort of like, I was going to order it a couple of days ago and they still couldn't get it to me for today, so I thought bugger it. So we're having some red wine in it. Alright, so essentially that in the stock is what's going to be the sauce. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll let this onion cook off for about 5 minutes. So I've got my stock sort of brewing, as it were, there. I'll find my bay leaves, and then when we're ready to chuck the rest in it, I'll get back to you. The onion's nicely softened now, so now we're going to put in about a tablespoon of tomato puree. Okay, about a tablespoon. Alright, we're going to put in some bay leaves, and we're going to put in a sprig of rosemary. Okay. We're just going to mix all that in. Now I said to you that it has Madeira in it. It also does actually have red wine in it. Right, and I also realised I made my stock in my small jug. So when I come to measure the cognac out, my big jug's not the right measures on it. So I've just swapped it over. So now we're just going to get that mixed together, and then we're going to have 60 ml of Madeira and 60 ml of red wine. So that's 120 ml. Right. There it goes, 150. Okay. We chuck that in there. Give it a bit of a mix. And then we do 60 ml of cognac. Let me measure it. There you go. Being a bit generous there. Oh, this one's right. Cheap one. So in that goes. Okay. So we're going to mix this up, and basically we want to bring it up to the boil, and then we boil it for 10 minutes. Okay. So while that's happening, you might as well go off and have something cheap, cheerful, whereas I am going to continue with my cocktail. Right, that's had 10 minutes. It's actually thickened down quite nicely now. So now we're going to add that beef stock. Remember, about 360 ml of beef stock. Okay, mixed in. Make sure we get it all in there. In it goes. And we're then just going to now cook this off. So, bloody egg yolks, need to get rid of this. Right, so now we're going to boil this for 15 minutes at least. Okay, we want to reduce it down, getting on for sort of like half the volume. Alright, so that's the sauce almost made. Okay, so I'm going to let that come up to the boil, put the time on 15 minutes, and then I'm going to show you the second stage. Right, so I've moved the saucepan of sauce onto the back here, and it's boiling away nicely yet. A bit fierce, that big ring at the back, because we want a skillet of some sort, basically anything that you can then put into the oven. And this is the only thing I've got that ain't got a wooden handle. I mean, apart from saucepan, but you can't put saucepan in there. So we want to warm this up, okay, and we're going to put, thank you, that's Andy, we're going to put some butter into this. Okay, one about 90 ml, so we'll do about that much. Alright, but partly because my skillet is ridged, okay, and otherwise the butter won't get onto the potatoes, because what we're going to cook now are the potatoes. So I've got some potatoes here. Now if you know it close, you know it, so I don't peel the ends, so that's cold. I'm chopping the ends off, I'm not using the ends. Right, you could use bacon potatoes. I thought it would be nicer to use smaller potatoes. Okay, I've probably got too much here. Okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to make some sort of potato rounds. It's known as potato Anna. Okay, so we'll just get rid of that out of the way for the moment. What we're going to do is we're going to thinly slice our potatoes. So our butter's melting down nicely. We're going to thinly slice our potatoes. I'll do that one, that's a bit bigger. Now, if you were cooking for more than you or a couple of people, I mean we're doing for two. If you were doing, for a dinner party, you would actually probably make one big one of these, and then proceed to, excuse me, that's the fizzy out wine. We would then proceed to cut it up into portions, but I thought it'd be nicer, since it's just the two of us, I'm going to make two individual ones. Alright, so I've probably got more than enough potato there. Might just slice that one just so I've got plenty of choice. So, what we're going to do, okay, we're waiting for that to come, get all melted as it were, alright. And we're going to want enough butter in there so it's you know, buttery underneath, but that we can also then spread over the top. So let me get a teaspoon probably. It's going a bit fierce, that sauce, at the minute. You hear that? Okay, wants to be nicely reduced down. You don't have to worry about all rosemary and all the other bits in there, because we're going to sieve it. Ooh, let's get back to the cocktail. I made another one, by the way. Well, I made another two, one for the wife, one for me. I tell you what, it don't taste alcoholic at all. Wouldn't know it, would you? Alright, so what we're going to do with potatoes is we're going to take our potato slices and we're going to arrange them in like a circle. Okay, it's being a bit of a bugger at the moment. Okay, so I've tried to get them. That one's being a slippery little bugger. Okay, so I can make it. Actually, I might make a few of these, because when you see what we do it later, it probably will fall apart. That's a bit thick, that one. Okay, so what I'm basically doing is creating a little circle of potato, which we're now going to leave cooking in here for probably, what, about 10 minutes at least. Okay, the idea being we want to try and brown its bottom. Right, I thought I'd just catch up with you for a bit. Sauce is reducing down nicely. Potatoes, I poured a little bit of melted butter over the top. Added a little bit of seasoning, a bit of salt and pepper over the top. You can possibly just about when I see that. I'm not picking that up. I keep reminding myself, don't touch my handle. But of course, because we're on red meat tonight, we're now on to the wine course. Okay, and we've got, this time, South African, not the South African, Pinotage. No, this one is alright actually. It wasn't very cheap, because most of it's down in there. So I've had better ones in South Africa. It's alright, it's alright. Right, so our potatoes, about 15 minutes. I'm just going to turn the heat off. Okay. Wipe off this all of the butter that's splashed every bloody where. Right, and remember, don't touch the fucking handle. Or all the Peaky Blinders. Burn your bloody selfish twat. Now, what we're going to do now is we're just going to move it over a bit, so that burn itself on that one, which is nice and juicy. I'm just going to cover this. Now, if you had a skillet with a lid on it, then this is where you put the lid on it. Okay. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to cover it with a bit of foil. Burn it out in the potato. Okay. Probably get these how I like. And then this is going to go in the oven. Okay, which, like I told you earlier, has been on. Put that in the oven for about 15 minutes. Alright? Now, that should cook the potatoes through, should brown it. Oh look, my glass magically filled itself up. Oh, this was good wine, isn't it? Fills glass up. So we're going to let them cook about another 15 minutes. So now it gets to the point where we're going to start thinking about cooking our steak, our filet mignon. Right? So I've got a couple here. Okay. Now, to this stage, okay, we obviously want our fillet steak, our filet mignon, whatever. Okay. We're going to want some butter and some oil to cook it in. And then once we, and a bit of seasoning, which I'll put away. Once we've cooked the steak, we are then going to add the accompaniment, which is a slice of foie gras, okay, and finished off with some slices of truffle. Now we've spared no expense. Flashback there, Jurassic Park. Spared no expense. Just dirty sauce. So foie gras, truffle, and artichoke hearts. Now, even though artichokes are actually apparently in season, Tesco's don't have artichokes. Didn't bother to colour. Okay, so I've actually bought a jar of artichoke hearts. They're a bit tiny, but they'll do. Okay, let's turn the heat on low. Okay, I've put about a tablespoon or so of butter in there, and we're going to have about a tablespoon of olive oil. Okay, I want to go in there, let's get this out of the way, don't need that anymore. Okay, now while that's doing that, we're just going to season our steaks. Okay, bloody thing, bit of salt, bit of pepper, flip them over, wash your hands. Bit of pepper, bit of salt, right, so we're just going to let that come up and melt all together, and then I'm going to put the steaks in there and we're going to cook them for about 10 minutes, about 5 minutes on each side. Right, so before we put our steaks in, I've chopped up clove or two of garlic. That's just going to go in there, all right, and we're just going to then cook that for a couple of minutes. Our sauce, we are now going to sieve that through, okay, get out of it into a jug, so we get all them bits out, all them herbs out, okay. Now I'm going to get all the bits out of there, because what I'm going to do is, because we want to keep the sauce nice and warm, now that I've emptied it all out of the pan, what we'll do is we'll be putting it back in there. Alright, so let's just get all the sauce through. Sounds like it's having a pee, doesn't it? That's appetizing, isn't it? So, onion's going to cook for a little bit more. Just going to let that last bit drain off. That'll go back in the saucepan. What we're now going to do, we're going to take our seasoned filet and we're going to lay them in there. Okay, and they're going to cook for approximately 5 minutes per side. Okay, now obviously when it comes to steak, you cook it how you like it. Alright, if you don't like it too well done, don't cook it too well done. If you like it well done, cook it well done. It's up to you, isn't it? So The sauce is back in the pan, all sieved, ready to go. Got some plates. I'm going to warm them up a bit. Potatoes are still in the oven. Potatoes. Warm them, smash them, cook them in the pan. I don't know, I can't remember it. I don't know if that's actually in the book, you know. Don't really. Anyway, so I've got my artichoke hearts. Got my truffle. Nice enough, I'll try one. I've got some rosemary sprigs to decorate it with. Right, so that's 5 minutes. Just going to flip that over. Garlic's starting to catch a little bit, so keep that away from the meat. And also, the potatoes have been in there long enough now, so we're going to turn the oven off. God, look at this bloody spitting everywhere. Make sure the bloody maid comes in tomorrow and cleans this up. In other words, I will have to do it. Alright, so remember, skillet is going to be hot. So, out that comes. That's going on there. Okay, oven turned off now. Get that off of there. And what we're going to do, we're just going to turn that on to put that on a low heat. Okay, just to further crispen that off. Don't know if you can see that really. Let's have a little look. Okay, so they're crisping off. The steaks have been turned over. Sauce is over really warm. So almost there now. Almost there. Okay, so we're just going to remove them from the pan. Okay, and we're going to just allow them to rest for about 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to put some foil over the top. Okay, and put them over the back there, and we're just going to let them rest 5 minutes before we finish everything else off. Now this lot all got to be chucked out, cleaned out, ready for the foie gras. Right, so my pan back on the heat. I've wiped it all completely clean, and I've got some slices of foie gras. Well, it should be, but this ain't. Right, so I'm just going to put this in here, and what we want to do is just lightly brown both sides. Shouldn't take too long. The potatoes still on the heat, crisping up a bit more. Steaks are resting. Sauce over there keeping warm. Almost there now. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let that cook for about a minute. Have a little bit more there now. And then I'm going to flip the foie gras. A final thing we're going to cook off a little bit is our artichoke hearts. So normally these will obviously be raw artichokes. These obviously aren't. These are like already in oil. So what we're going to do is we're going to warm them up. Okay. So while that's just finishing off on there, let me get something out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a few of these out. Okay. And just put them in here. Now these are quite tiny. Okay. So probably going to put the best part of most of this jar in there, because to be honest, this is about the only vegetable you're going to get in this meal. Alright, certainly not one vegetarian. Alright, yeah, I might as well just chuck the whole lot in here, because to be honest, other than eating for salad, you ain't going to do a lot else with them, are you? So we're going to let the pate cook for a little bit longer. Then we're going to sort of toss around. I'll take the pate out, toss it around, the artichokes around a bit. The potatoes are nicely crisp now. I'm just going to put the sauce back on the heat for a little bit, just to make sure it's nice and warm. And we're almost there. Plates are in the oven warming up. Right, so whilst the artichokes just warm up a bit more, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the foie gras, porpoise foie gras, okay, out of the pan, put it over there, and what we're going to do with our artichoke hearts is just warm them through a little bit more, okay, toss them, don't mention it to them to warm. Oh, sorry, that's different film. Alright, so we're just about there. So, in a minute, what I'll be showing you is how we assemble the final dish. And then I better put the jacket on and we better go and set the table and eat this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put artichokes hearts around the outside, okay, and then because this is a bit of a little bugger, I might not carry on recording. I'll finish this one off in a minute. What I then do is I take my sauce and I just drizzle some sauce over and around. Woo! Plate's a bit hot. And there we have Filet Mignon Lili as served the last night of the Titanic. Enjoy.